Jaylen Brown might need knee surgery. Al Horford might retire. Reality, it's hitting us really hard right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Being down, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamp. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday with a free podcast. It drops directly to your device. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch a show on YouTube. Tomorrow will all be Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is talking on Monday, so it'll be all about what Brad Stevens is saying about the offseason. So tons of offseason coverage starting already, so make sure you are subscribed. I'm John Karalis. I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I have been covering the team for about 20 years now, and this offseason is going to be one of the most interesting ones that I have seen. So this is going to be a wild ride. Join me on it. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Later on, we'll just kind of start to preview a little bit of this offseason. We have to talk about Al Horford, who is actually hinting at retiring, and Jaylen Brown, who all of a sudden it's been revealed that he was playing on a torn meniscus. And I have to reveal Tom Westerholm, who is joining me here to talk about this. How you doing, Tom?
I'm good, man. It is. It's spicy times. Spicy times.
A minute since we get to be spicy.
Yeah,
it has. Team. It has been a while since we've been like, we don't know. We don't know what's next. Last year, we were like, yeah, run it back. We don't know what's coming. We don't know who's going to be here, who's not, how they're going to look.
Yeah.
This is.
We could have gotten. I want to point out too. We could have started getting spicy last week too, had it not been for tornadoes. So other than that, like spicy could have started earlier. But yeah. But better late than never. So
it's about to get spicy. This is like a whole thing of tea here. I'm people. If you're listening, you're like, wow, Karalis, you sound like crap. Yeah, I'm dealing with a little throat issue. I think I was out of practice being in New York City. touching like subway things and then not realizing like touching my face, and I got it's either that.
I shouldn't have licked that doorway. What was I doing?
What was I doing? It was either that or the handle of bourbon that I drank after game 6. One of those two things has ruined my voice. So that's why I sound the way I sound. But also it sounds like I've been gargling glass after hearing all of this news that's come out. Let's start with Jaylen Brown, who was playing on a torn meniscus. This is the classic thing that happens after a team loses a series, especially a series that they should not have lost. And by the way, I'm never going to let go of that. I was right about this series. The Celtics screwed it up.
Yep.
Celtics screwed it up. I was not wrong. They were wrong. So let it be known that I'm not letting that go.
Like I said before, we're not owned. Do not put it in the newspaper that we have been owned.
That's right.
We were right. I'm right there with you. I'm not on this limb that you're out on. I'm back to back, just sitting there. Yep, I'm sure many Knicks fans in the comments, whatever. Like, the Celtics should have won this series.
Celtics should have won this. Al Horford said it in his exit interview.
They should have won this series in 5.
Absolutely should have.
Yeah.
And like Al Horford said, he's like, game 6, they were the better team. No doubt about it. Absolutely. The Celtics in game 6 got demolished. Games 1 through 5, that Celtics, they blew 2 of them. They should have, and the third one, that 14-point lead in the third quarter, that could have, whatever. But Al knows it. We know it. The Celtics botched it. They botched this series against the Knicks. And I still think it should go down. Injuries aside, it should go down as like everybody has an all-timer on their resume, right? Like people bring up 1983, Larry Bird got swept, right? They got swept. It was the second round, so they get swept by an inferior team. Sometimes it happens. It's not like an indictment on the team overall, but it is just a statement of fact. You botched it. You pooched it. You biffed it. However you want to say it. You did it. You screwed it up, and you should still be playing. Now, Jaylen playing on a torn meniscus. I don't know. We could go through the whole butterfly effect of had the Celtics won games 1 and 2. What would Jayson Tatum's injury be? Regardless, let's just assume he's still hurt. A series against the Pacers, a team that I have always feared. Who knows how it would have gone? But Jaylen playing on a torn meniscus, heroic in basketball, heroic, not real heroic, but heroic effort. He fought through it. He, that game 5 that he had on the, knowing that it was on a torn meniscus, incredible. But now here we are in the off season, and it's like, oh, he might need surgery.
Yeah.
And if he needs surgery, is it we're just going to remove part of it and, he'll deal with it later? Or is he going to go for the repair, which could take a few months, which means his entire, he'll be ready for the beginning of the season, but no, I'm going to do this to add to it's all rehab this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason's rehab's going to go, who knows how long, into 2026 at the very least, I think. Jaylen's rehab could potentially go all summer. So this could be a real interesting. I wonder how this impacts what the Celtics are going to do this summer based on what decision Jaylen Brown makes.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's just from a practical standpoint, you look at the amount of basketball that these guys played over the last, 24 months, really, like way more than 12, right? Like they've played a lot much basketball, deep playoff runs, the Olympics, like all this stuff. Obviously Jaylen quite famously did not play in the Olympics, but that's neither here nor there. But the amount of basketball that these guys have played, a guy like Jaylen, a guy like Tatum. I mean, it's like kind of darkly funny, not funny. It's darkly noteworthy that his wrists can really heal up now. He can those wrists that have been bothering him for a long time. And it's like these knocks that these guys take, these little that thing's bothering me for a while. Like, I don't know, like it kind of feels like, you look at this upcoming season and it's like, it's got to be kind of tempting to just take a big old reset on it, right? To just have I mean, you're not doing much this season anyway. And obviously that, that's tough on a lot of levels. That's tough on the Derrick White is 30 level. That's tough on we'll get into Al Horford. That's tough on you can't imagine Al Horford's going to want to come back for something like that. But at the same time, again, like the number of miles that are on these guys at this age right now, it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Push it back a little bit, like really get healthy, because next year was a wash as soon as Tatum took that bad step. It was just like, I think Sam Sheehan had the best tweet about it, where he was like, oh, I saw Tatum go down and was like, well, the series is over. And I saw him and then I saw how he went down, and I saw that next season was too. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of how it feels.
It definitely has like that kind of overcast to it, but I would argue, just in my general optimism, I definitely skew optimism.
This is where we part ways. Yes.
Yes. I'm not ready to say next year's done at this point yet. I'm open to the idea. I'm not ready yet to say, like, if I'm Brad Stevens, to say, okay, well, it's done, it's over, and we got to move on, because this does skip ahead to the what's next. It does change the calculus. It does change who you might keep around, or a move that you might make that you might not have normally made before. Let's do this. let's talk about Al Horford.
All right.
Because I think Al Horford, we got to set the Al Horford stage first.
Yeah.
And then get into because I think Derrick White is a big player in this.
Mm-hmm.
Al Horford, I think, is the bellwether for what Jayson Tatum's recovery will look like. I'll explain that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. If you've checked your bank account and wondered where all your money went, then you need Monarch Money. I know there's dining out, there's online shopping, there's entertainment, there's in-game purchases for games that you like, I'll just spend $5 here and $5 there. And you're like, whoa, this is a lot of money that I spent on this little game on my phone. Monarch Money is your personal CFO, gives you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Monarch Money can track all your accounts, investments, spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you can start building wealth. You're not juggling multiple apps. You can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, even plan for long-term goals. If you are with a partner, you and your partner can put it all together and make it smoother than ever. Track your shared personal accounts, set goals, stay on the same page. Stress relief when it comes to money is huge in a relationship. So take control of your finances. Take control of your happiness with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Game Night. Game Night's covering the games that are being played, and now it's just going to be one game a night. We're in the conference finals, so there's going to be in-depth. I'll be there on Fridays so with Jake Madison, so check it out for in-depth coverage of the playoffs, plus afternoon show on Locked On NBA has all the storylines covered, so it's one feed with everything that you need for playoff coverage. All right, Tom. You, first of all, are muted. Second of all, Al Horford did not. How can I put it? Okay, last year, after they won the championship, he was asked about his future, and he was like, what do you mean my future? Of course I'm coming back. This year, he was asked about his future.
I think I might have a career in this basketball thing. I'm going to keep doing it.
He's like, he blew it off. Like, well, why are you even asking me this? This year, I have to talk to my family. I have to talk to my wife. And it's like, oh, okay.
That's new.
Al is not a guarantee. All year long, I've been saying Al is, of course he's coming back. Of course he is. And then Jason's injury happened. And it's like, is he going to come back for a lost season?
Yeah.
For the Celtics. This is why I say he's the bellwether. Look, he and Jayson Tatum are very close. Like two of the closest teammates on the team. So they are in constant contact. To me, if Al Horford comes back and whatever the deal is, but he's not going to get like $20 million or anything. He's going to get like the veteran minimum or like somewhere around $5 million to something like small.
Yeah.
If Al Horford decides to come back, to me, that means Jayson Tatum is coming back at some point during the season, and Al Horford thinks that this team will still be able to put it together in enough time to win a championship. I'm not looking at him, excuse me, to take a year off. People are saying that. He's too old to do that. You take a year off, forget it. You're not coming back from a year off at 39.
No.
You know what I mean? Like people don't understand how hard it is to ramp back up. It's at this point, you're in the hamster wheel. Take some time off, get back into it. You're still in that loop. If you jump out of that loop, you're out. Forget it. You're retired. If Al comes back, I think it means Jason's recovery is going well. He will be back at some point during the season, and he probably will feel like Jason's going to get ramped up and be somewhat close to his normal self around playoff time. And that will give them a chance next playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, it's not like that's out of the question. That is, however, like him coming back and being his normal self that's a tall ask given the injury, right? Like, I mean, we're talking like
right. It's a tough injury to come back from, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like, and especially like coming back in the middle of a season, that is often very hard. Like, a lot of coming back in the middle of the season and hoping to be yourself is another kind of tall ask. And that is kind of why I guess I'm, again, we part ways on optimism often. I'm less optimistic about the possibility of Al coming back for that reason, because I do agree with you. I think that I mean, look, I think Al's got a lot of decisions to make, and I have no idea what he's going to decide to do. And I mean, it's hard to it's hard to end your basketball career, especially when you're as good as Al Horford is. Like, he's awesome still. Like, there's, I mean, like the defense that he can play at his advanced age is really wild. Like, he's awesome basketball player. It would be really hard to step away at this point, but I think it would be. I also am curious how hard it would be to tie your decision to step away or not step away to somebody else, to like somebody else's health. Like, that's got to be kind of a, it might almost feel like you're not going out on your terms. But I mean, just from a realism standpoint, and from just like like taking a step back and looking at like what could happen here. What is the best case scenario of you staying versus the best case scenario of you, like you got kids, like he's got five of them, like very famously. You got kids, and it's like you look at this season. Are you likely to win a title with Jayson Tatum returning from an Achilles injury that year? That's tough, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
It is tough. It is tough. And this is the thing, like that's it's tough, but my optimism is based on Tatum's youth, the innovation of Achilles repairs nowadays, which does tend to bring guys back, I think, a little sooner. I do think this is an unprecedented situation. This is not, we cannot, the speed
with which it was done. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I cannot with intellectual honesty look at other Achilles injuries and say, well, this tells me what Tatum is going to go through.
Fair. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because like the closest thing you get, I was talking to some people, and like DeMarcus Cousins had his at 27, but he's also a much bigger guy and not exactly in the kind of shape that Tatum was in. So I feel like Tatum stands alone in this, and we don't know what he's going to be. And I fully acknowledge it is an Achilles injury, an Achilles rupture. Even the most optimistic return, I'm still looking at January,
right?
Which is 8 months from now.
Yeah, and that's so very optimistic. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's an optimistic view.
Yeah,
everything has to go right.
Yeah,
I think so. It's May, right? So June, July, middle of July, we're going to get a sense of. It's 2 months after Tatum's surgery. You'll have a sense of how soon did he start walking in a boot? How soon did he start walking in a sneaker? How soon did he start stretching exercises? The tiniest bit of rehab, right? The little band work that you need to start doing, the lightest of band work. If that stuff starts happening, like on the early side, oh wow, he's in the boot in 2 weeks. He's off crutches in 4 weeks. Like, you're going to start to find out pretty early if this is going to be a quick recovery or not.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is why I'm saying Jason's recovery is the bellwether, like or Al Horford's the bellwether for Jason's recovery, because Al's going to know. Al's going to know every step, like literal step that Jayson takes.
Right.
And he'll be able to say, like, Jayson will talk to Al and be like, I'm way ahead of schedule. I feel good. This is going great. Then Al might be like, you know what? I'm going to come back. I'll ramp it up slow. Maybe we work out something where I don't come back until December, or something else. And I'll start to ramp it up after that. And we do something different. But if Tatum can have January, February, March as like an extended preseason, he doesn't have to be all NBA Jayson Tatum. The only thing is, can Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum be on the floor and somewhat effective together? What guys does Brad Stevens keep? And is the team that's being built around around these guys, is it good enough to compete? Because the East will probably, depending on how things happen, we have to see what the offseason brings. The East will be so wide open. And as we've seen in these playoffs, all you got to do is basically be healthy at this point. And, if the Celtics can come back, be good, and be healthy, they might be able to make a run. And all Al wants is a chance. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, listen, I look at his situation and I'm like, man, you are like, aren't you a little tired? I'm tired. Yeah. Like, are you not tired? Uh-huh. So but yeah,
man's got 5 kids. Of course he's tired.
Of course he's got. Listen, yeah, and I mean, 5 kids. You get to be on the road a bunch. I mean, for one thing, yeah, you'll miss your kids. On the other hand, you might be less tired when you get away from home a little bit. Get a good night's sleep. So
yeah, those 5-star hotels got nice beds, man.
I can imagine. I wouldn't know.
Okay, so all of this brings us to what Brad's going to do.
Yeah,
and Derrick White is, again, another bellwether.
Yeah, for sure.
So Al coming back will say a lot. What they do with Derrick White, I think, says a lot. A lot. That's coming up right in a minute. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. We got a lockdown for every team. So if you want to become a temporary Locked On Pacers fan, by all means, Tony East does a great job over there. I know you're not going to hop on that Knicks bandwagon. So if you want to go hop on that Pacers bandwagon, I'm more than happy to do that. Tom, we were talking about it before, man. I've been talking about my fear of the Pacers for a while. I think they're good. So
big
I'm
Pacers
happy
guys. Yeah, we're big Pacers guys.
Big. Oh, this is Locked On Pacers Part 2. I might change the colors for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm big on Indiana basketball right now. Indiana Fever. I put a couple bucks on the Indiana Fever to win the WNBA championship. That's my pick. So, Indiana basketball, it's a place to be. So go check out Locked On Pacers. Derrick White is 30 years old?
I believe that's right.
And under contract, he's
he'll be 31 in July. Yeah.
31. Yeah. Going to be 31. So he's not going to be in the league for that much longer.
Yeah.
5-6 more years, probably. It's probably about right for a guy like him. With
maybe a
couple more, maybe 7, a couple
more. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. Depends on the shooting, but
yeah,
he's we've turned the corner. Back 9, so to speak.
For sure.
So Derrick is not. You have him next year. If next year is the gap year, then the year after he's going to be 32. And how expensive a roster are you going to have? Is having a 32-year-old going to be where you want to be as far as team construction? He has he's going to make $28 million next year, first year of a contract extension. Then he's going to make 30, 32 and a half, and then almost 35 as a player option in 28, 29. So starting this upcoming season, 4 more years of Derrick White under contract. Man, that's a guy that can get you a big return.
Yes.
In a trade market. Like of all the guys that you have on this roster, aside from Jaylen Brown, who's a 28-year-old borderline all-NBA guy.
Yeah.
Derrick White's going to get you the biggest haul. If
by a wide margin. Yep.
If you're so inclined, right? You're going to have to move somebody who makes big money, and just moving Derrick White is not enough.
Right.
No one wants to see Derrick White go. I certainly don't want to see Derrick White go. But if Derrick White goes, that's the clearest sign that the Celtics do not believe that next year things are going to go my optimistic way, right? If Derrick White goes, then I think Al Horford retires. Like, I don't think it's either if Derrick goes, then the whole thing, that's like, oh crap. If you see on July 1st or something like that, or July whatever, that Derrick White has been traded, you're like, oh boy, okay, here's the rebuild, or the quick Brad's trying to thread a needle here.
Yeah.
So that okay, I'll let you talk.
No, I agree with you completely. And I think the other interesting thing about that to me is that if you see Derrick go, I do think that there's a better chance that then you're not thinking like, okay, I think, do you consider trading Jaylen? Right. I think that at that point it's like, okay, you're looking, because you can't bring back Tatum to nothing, right?
Yeah,
you can't just have like a completely blank slate and be like, all right, let's rebuild it. No, you can't do that. But Jaylen and Tatum together, that's the core of something great, right? That's a core of a championship team, right? You can build a championship team around those two guys for sure. So I think I agree with you completely that is everything else is getting torn down to, and I think, yeah, I mean, you have to consider like, okay, Drew Holiday is a really good player, and I think contenders would be really smart to chase him, but that's an expensive guy. That's an older guy. That's you're definitely getting, if you're a contender and you get Drew Holiday, you are getting a guy who can definitely help you win a championship next year. But like 2 years down the road, it starts to get sketchier, right? And like I think it's gonna be really hard to move Porzingis. Like I don't think there's gonna be a lot of enthusiasm, given how high profile him missing both of the last two playoff runs has been. Horrible timing on this illness, because like this illness just feels like a freak thing, right? But at the same time, it's like the injury was a freak thing. The injury was something that, like 3 people in medical history have ever had before too, right? So like I think that, yeah, if you want to get back value, if you want to do this retool and you want to get back value, I mean, somebody's gonna have to go who you don't want to see go. Like it's just how this works.
Yeah.
And I think you're right too, though, that like if it sounds like Tatum's gonna come back, and this is the do all thing of it, right? Because if it does sound like Tatum is gonna come back in, even if you say like February, right? If you say like maybe he's like really ramping up and looking pretty good, and maybe you could like have a 6th seed by the time March rolls around, and then here comes Tatum. Like, yeah, I mean the East could be kind of wide open. So then maybe you do keep him. But I do think that, to me, again, as I start to branch away from you toward the pessimistic side of things, I'm like, well, somebody of value is probably going to have to go to bring back, the kind of retool value that you're hoping for.
Yeah. The one thing I think that works in Boston's favor is I think this summer is going to be a wild summer with huge names. This summer is the most, I think, unpredictable summer in NBA history. Because
I think we're looking at like take my talents to South Beach level of like chaos this summer.
It's going to be, no one knows what the second apron is really doing to teams. We haven't seen teams try to get under the second apron like this.
Yeah.
Who knows what and you've got disgruntled Kevin Durant, and you've got who knows what level of gruntled Giannis Antetokounmpo is. And so I say that those are dominoes that are going to have to fall first.
Yeah.
Which gives Boston like a little bit more time. I'm sure Brad Stevens, because he does his job very well, is already talking to people.
Yeah.
And like, hey, if we were to move Derrick, just if, we're not doing it yet, but if we were, what do you think? What would you, would you move this guy? Would you try? I'm sure those talks are in play. Probably the same thing for Jaylen. I'm not going to say Jayson, but like, I think
if anybody, the only guy who's not getting moved this season is Jayson Tatum, because like
I would say
you've never had less potential value on a guy than Jayson Tatum right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if some team is like, hey, we'll like Charlotte, let's say, is like, yo, listen, if you guys are like doing the quick thing, like we can give you blah, blah, blah. We'll wait for Tatum to come back and like, we'll take the year off and you guys can do whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that Brad does this, but I'm saying Brad picks up the phone call from some team in that situation, like for Utah, Danny Ainge. You don't think Danny Ainge is calling up Brad and is like, hey man, we've got time. So if you don't feel like Tatum is going to come back and be himself, we can talk, and we can talk draft picks and all this other stuff. And who knows, but I don't think it gets to that. But Brad is going to be doing his job and having conversations, and he's going to know what he can pull off if he needs to pull something off, which means in a month, right? 2, 4, 6 weeks in those little milestones of where is Tatum in his recovery, you start to get that little sense of like, oh, he's going to be way ahead of what I think he's going to be. All right, we're going to keep Derrick because he's still going to be good, and you still have 3, 4 more years of Derrick White. You don't have to move him right away. But also it's like, oh God, this isn't looking great for Tatum. Right. All right, let's move Derrick. Let's get a bunch of picks and let's retool. Like you said, you got Jaylen, you got Jayson. Jaylen, you know what? Don't put your long-term future in jeopardy. Get the repair surgery. Take the 4 months, come back. We'll ramp you up. We don't care if you're ready for day 1. We'll come back. We'll work you back. No problem. Whatever it is, it is. And then you start to, tinker with all the little pieces. How do we rebuild a contender around Jaylen and Jayson? You have a blueprint, so to speak, with the team that you've had.
Yeah.
How can you kind of like duplicate that blueprint a little, follow that blueprint a little bit? Like, okay, well, you have Baylor Shireman, and maybe you move Sam Hauser and Shireman becomes that guy, and whatever. Pritchard steps in and becomes your point guard, and he kind of fills, so you have ways to do this. So again, like these are like the little things that we're watching for. If you move Derrick and Al, if Derrick goes and Al says, sorry, we're done.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, at that point I stop thinking that Jayson comes back. If anything, if he comes back next season at all, it's just to like get his sea legs back and, get his confidence back. I have no problem with Jayson coming back in March for a month just to play some basketball,
sure.
And work through some kinks. A little live basketball never hurt anybody. Well, you know what I mean? a little live basketball can just to get your legs under you again. Yeah. Right? Let's see how it feels. Let's get your confidence in your body back. And then you can have your summer of full whatever. But yeah, man, it's who knows what's going to happen. It's crazy. This is crazy.
It really is. It's going to be interesting too, because it's like, they built this team around them that's shooters, right? That like you've got all this shooting, but you could take like little pieces here and there, right? Like, okay, if our guards are switchable defenders, we know that's a great thing around these guys. I also think you're going to need to find guys, who can play a lot, because like you gotta account for like, okay, we got to be really careful if this guy needs a day off. If Tatum needs a day off, we got to be able to give it to him. Like, I don't think you can take a swing on a Porzingis type again.
Right.
Like that type of guy is just like, no, like we can't.
I hope Tatum starts taking days off now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just hope he starts taking some days off and realize. The other thing, though, my last point here, just as we start our what's next stuff, it's not just about getting a little under the second apron, whatever Brad does.
Yeah.
You got to get far enough under the second apron where you're allowed to make some moves, take some money back. And also, when you aggregate, so let's say you make a move, you get under the second apron, and then you're like, okay, great, we can start aggregating salaries again. Well, once you do that, you're hard capped at the second apron.
Right.
So you have to get far enough underneath where you can make your moves and not hit that hard cap. Because if you hit that hard cap, there's nothing. There's like, you got nothing, man. If somebody gets hurt, you can't, no hardship exception, none of that stuff. So they have to get, it's not just move Drew Holiday and like keep everybody else and let's just run it back. Like it's not that easy. It's not that easy. So
yeah.
Oh boy. Okay. A lot of stuff. Tom, appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man.
And I appreciate all of you being here for the start of a wicked offseason. This thing, I'm not trying to overhype it. This is going to be an incredibly unpredictable, wild, no one really knows kind of offseason. So I will be here. Tom will be here sometimes. I will have other guests. We'll try to rationalize what happened in the past, rectify all that with how things are going to go in the future. So be here on a regular basis. This show is still Monday through Friday. Again, tomorrow, Brad Stevens is talking at the practice facility, his end of season press conference. That's going to have a lot of interesting things. I will react to that tomorrow. So make sure you're subscribed. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into the comments section. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my points, Tom's points. And then I would love it if you shared the podcast and told everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here in the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.